Another new Herpa Wings release, much delayed as usual, but what it does represent is a new addition into Herpa Wings' portfolio, as this airline has never been featured before in Scale 500 from Herpa Wings. And with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at a Boeing 737-800 of AnadoluJet. At the front of the box we have a cutout so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft inside, and on top of that we have the AnadoluJet branding. Then on the back side of the box we unfortunately follow the current standard box design from Herpa Wings, which is mildly said dreadful. And here she is, the Boeing 737-800 in the almost AnadoluJet standard livery. And why it's only almost the standard livery of the airline, I will get into a little bit later in the video, but guys, I've been looking forward to this aircraft model so much that I just want to jump into it right away and see what it actually has to offer. So let us start our tour around this aircraft model with a look at the tail section, where we on the vertical stabilizer find the AnadoluJet branding. On the fuselage we then find the aircraft type specification as well as the full registration code of the aircraft, and towards the very tail of the aircraft we find some rather lovely detailing around the APU exhaust. At the front of the aircraft we then across the fuselage find the AnadoluJet branding as well as the Turkish flag. Underneath the AnadoluJet branding we then have this little writing which says a trademark of Turkish Airlines, and this is where we have a little bit of an issue. You see, the last image I could find of the aircraft this model is based upon is from mid-August 2021, and it does still look very much like this. However, most aircraft in the AnadoluJet, if not all, are being updated, which means they are removing this writing of Turkish Airlines and replacing it with the Turkish Airlines branding. Of course, we have to assume that Herpa could not foresee this change in delivery. However, had the model not been delayed, we would have received a model which would have been perfectly up to date. Now we are receiving a model which basically already is in an old livery, which is a shame. And I understand you might say that I'm a little bit pedantic because it is just a little detail, but I would argue that it is these small details that really make the difference, whether it is a bad, a good or a great model. But to end this topic and return to the model, I should also mention that underneath the cockpit windows we find the name of the aircraft. And that leads us to the cockpit section itself, which consists of the cockpit windows and the window wipers. That's the extent of detailing Herpa grants us with this aircraft model. And that despite the retail price of the model being 28 euros. Where we definitely get more in return for our money are the engines. They have been kept in this dark blue coloring of the AnadoluJet color scheme, and they do have some lovely safety markings as well as the silver leading edge printed on. That is very nice. The physical detailing itself is quite okay from the backside. However, when we look into the front, we have seen that better with the engine fan blades. They're just not as pronounced as they used to, for whatever reason. On the fuselage, just above the wings, we find the emergency exits have been printed on, which leads us straight to the wings, which we should definitely also take a closer look at. Starting off at the top side, where we can see the different flaps, slats and spoilers have been carved out very nicely. We do also have the markings for the emergency exit as well as the full registration code printed on. The full registration code of the aircraft we then find again on the underside of the wings alongside some nicely executed physical detailing. That also refers to the very nicely pulled off winglets, where Herpa has done a great job both with the physical detailing as well as with the print. The landing gear is the standard landing gear that Herpa uses for all their 737NG models. This is a good thing when we talk about the main landing gear because that actually looks rather decent. The front landing gear, however, is rather wide, and as usual it is missing any printed details. The belly of the aircraft then has this hole in the fuselage for a stand, which is not included with this aircraft model, making it rather pointless. In this case it doesn't destroy any printed details, which means I don't really mind, but I will never be a fan of it. And then last but not least, we do also have the doors to the cargo compartments printed on here at the back of the aircraft and also here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 737-800 in the almost standard livery of AnadoluJet from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? I know, I have been a little bit pedantic that it just says Turkish Airlines and doesn't have the Turkish Airlines branding printed on, especially as I mentioned, this aircraft that the model is based upon does still look just like this. But hear me out. Perhaps it is just me, but when I buy a new model, of a current airliner. I like that it is up to date. And of course, there aren't many industries that are as fast-paced with changes as the aviation industry, so that alone is almost impossible to actually achieve. And yes, Herpa probably could not have foreseen this change, but I cannot help but feel that if the model had been released on time, I would at least have had like this little honeymoon season where the model would have felt like it would be completely up to date. That is very much my little personal bone I have to pick with this aircraft model, because other than that, I really like it. Herpa has done a solid job with this aircraft model, and I will cherish having it in my collection. And I guess most of you, if you decide to buy this model, will too. Now, with that a little bit of personal struggling, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then why not leave a like? That would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? That would be absolutely awesome. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.